So first up, we're going to actually go back into model stuff real fast, and this is something that I'm just now allowing you to do. Even though a number of you have sort of started trying to do this before, but I'm going to allow you to use color in your materials. A color. In fact, one color only. Just one. Everything else must be grayscale. There's no grass, ground plane, no asphalt, driveways. Everything must be grayscale, and you may only use one color. And the reason is you really start using color materials for an academic model and an academic rendering when you want to accentuate something. So in this case, it's really, not a beautiful design, but I do want to accentuate this entry, for instance. So I'm going to go through and find a material that I want to use for that. But remember, I don't want you guys going off on tangents with metal panels that have reveals or concrete materials. I don't want you to be using anything that has a graphic texture. Purely a physical texture is all I'm really looking for. So when we go into the MXM gallery, for instance, if it loads, there it is. Let's take a look at that glass again so that you can see what I mean. So the reason I chose industrial glass before was because it was the most simple and flat and plain glass that I could find of the selections. There's also, glass like this that has sort of a tile pattern. Metallic, well, actually metallic glass could work too. It doesn't have any texture on it, but like this is a little bit too advanced unless you're using it for a very specialty purpose. Whoa, where'd that go? There it is. You also have textured glass like that. That gets too gimmicky and it distracts you from what it is you're trying to do. Plus, the scale is almost always wrong. And we're not really doing scale in this. So anyway, what I'm trying to find here is I just want to have like a matte material, and it just needs to be super plain. Oh, that's a tile. No. Hang on, I forget what material it was I used before. Okay, well, the material, I don't recall what material I pulled up earlier today to try and bring in. I should have wrote it down, but we could just use the glossy white. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is clone this material. And inside, I want you to be very careful about which layers you modify. The only layers I want you to modify are the layers that are indicative of the specific color that you see on your material. Unfortunately, this one happens to be white, so we kind of have to do a bit of guessing. One thing I want to point to is when you have a material that is this complex, this one has 4 separate layers that's being calculated, you generally want to stick to whichever material is the base color, right? So this one actually calls it base, which is nice. But you can go through and modify reflectance, and that's going to give you a pretty good result. So I'm going to switch this to like a deep, well, I'll go bright red and make it really accentuated. And let's just, all right. So what that changed was the base red color, but there's also this other layer for flakes. So I want to change flakes too, and I'm going to change that top color, but I'm going to make the flakes a little bit brighter. Just a hair. Actually, I think I want to make them darker. And then you probably could modify the reflectance 90 to red too. Let's see if that makes it a little bit more wholesomely red. There we go, candy apple red, just like a 94 Corvette, right? Alright, well it doesn't look red up there, but anyway, so that's all I want you to mess with is the base color and maybe like a, like a flake color if you have those layers on your material. I don't want you to modify anything that's image based. So you saw me in between when I paused the video for a moment, what I did was I went into the MXM gallery and I pulled up a sandy material. Yeah, like sandstone. Okay, so it's something that looks like that, right? It's very textured, it's very sort of image-based. But when I import that, and I open it up to edit, under this layer, you're going to see images here. Okay, so these little checkboxes, those are graphic maps that get overlaid onto the material and tiled and everything like that and scaled. So those are what I don't want you to mess with, not at this stage, and it's not. It sort of falls outside of the scope of this class. So just be careful of what you're picking. That it's based off of color and material settings and texture-based settings rather than the what am I trying to say? Rather than the image-based materials. Okay, so really all I did was I put this entry on a different layer. I'm going to put my glossy, well, I need to rename it now. Am I blind or... Oh, let me just double click it there. There we go. Glossy red. And I'm going to put that on that layer. Okay. So I didn't really teach you anything new. I have shown you that in the past, so I wanted to sort of refresh you on that and emphasize that it's only one color for these models, okay? With the exception of glass. That's a little bit different. Okay. Any questions on that? All right.